Yeah, go ahead. We'll serve the food and get comfortable. I almost lost this talk, which would have been really nice for you guys. All right.
Megan's the favorite, so yes.
Webster's Dictionary defines wedding as the fusing of two metals with a hot torch. By the way, if you laughed at that, you're spending way too much time binge watching episodes of The Office. I was Googling how to do a good father of the bride speech. You can already tell, based on how that joke fell over, that I'm not a professional speaker. And the tip that it gave was be brief, be clever, and be gone. So the good news is for you guys, you got a really good shot at getting 1 out of 3 of those eventually to happen tonight. All right, so welcome to everyone. I know a lot of people came from a long ways, and we're glad you're here. We're glad you fought the weather and the airline travel or road travel or whatever you did and got here. I think we've got some great energy kicking off. Thanks to the wedding party for that. And we're ready to have a great party tonight. So we appreciate everyone coming. And special thanks to all the people that were involved in kind of the wedding parties and showers and things like that. Thank you very much for the time and energy that you put in to making this all happen. It couldn't happen without you. So appreciate that. So as some of you guys may know or probably are aware, and as you guys heard in Father Williams' homily today, we play a lot of games as a family. So we play board games, card games. Occasionally we play drinking games, whatever suits your taste. One of our family favorites is Settlers of Catan, and you heard that got mentioned a couple times. So if you've never played that game, it's a strategy game where you basically take dice, you roll the dice. I've got a visual here. You roll the dice, and you do a bunch of stuff, basically, and then you pass the dice to the next player to take their turn. And turns go like that. So, usually what happens during that game, at some point, or many points during that game, is someone says, whose turn is it? And generally that jars me out of my deep concentration mode. And I have to skulkingly raise my hand and say, it's my turn. And then the kids will yell at me, sometimes very aggressively, Dad, take your turn and pass the dice. So what I didn't realize until the year 2000 was how enriching it was going to be to take my turns as the father of a daughter. To take turns for her, to take turns with her, and to take turns watching her grow and thrive. And just sitting back with pride. So, a few of the turns that I've been able to take. We'll start at 2 years old. Megan at 2. So Megan at 2 was on a normal pace. She was not potty trained yet. And we couldn't really get her to take an interest in potty training until we figured out that really she was totally fired up about Dora the Explorer Big Girl underwear. So, as soon as we waved the Dora the Explorer Big Girl underwear in front of her and said, if you stop wetting your diaper for 2 days, we will let you wear these underwear, it was like a light switch for Megan. I don't think she ever wet her diaper again, and she did get those Dora the Explorer Big Girl underwear. So, experiencing that turn with Megan opened our eyes, to her resolve and determination. And that was a great turn. Next, Megan's 9 years old. Picture this ponytail, glasses girl wearing her sweet plaid cargo shorts. I'm in the hunt for a car, and Megan goes car shopping with me. Some of you guys may have heard this story. So I found a car. It was a used car, new to us, and we went to the dealer, and Megan went with me to drive the car. Since I had a cute little girl with me, he let me drive the car by ourselves. And we stopped, and she went through every nook and cranny and knew every feature that was in this car. And on the way back, I was like, this thing's pretty sweet. I said, I'm going to buy this car. And then I immediately shifted in to like my negotiation mode, my power negotiating skills from various books on tape, whatever. And I was like, all right, I got to figure out how to beat this guy down in price. And as soon as we got there, Megan jumped out of the car, ran into the dealer's office and said, "My dad's going to buy your car." That was a turn that I got to take with Megan. It was just a demonstration of her enthusiasm and relentless positivity. And that was a great turn to take. By the way, the negotiation was over and I paid the full price for it. It's the same car Megan's driving now. All right, another story. Where is Uncle Harold? Okay, I'm going to give you a little shout out, Uncle Harold back there. This is about the same time era. We were at Uncle Chris's farm, and Megan wanted to go fishing with Uncle Harold on their pond. So this is the same ponytail, cargo shorts girl. So she's out there standing with Uncle Harold. He's got the fishing rod in the water, and he hooks a fish, and he sets the hook, and then he reaches over to pass the rod and reel to Megan, and he says, "Hey, why don't you reel this in and catch the fish?" And she said, "No." And Harold's like, "Well, what do you mean no? Why not?" And she said, "Well, Harold, that's not my fish." Taking that turn with Megan helped us realize what a great sense of right and wrong that she had. And she just knew in her mind what was right. And when she knows in her mind what's right, nothing's going to stop her from pursuing that or holding the line on. Other turns that I got to take as a dad, that we found out when Megan signed up for rec soccer, they needed a soccer coach. So I signed up to coach a season of soccer. That turned into 12 consecutive seasons of coaching, by the way. That was a great turn to take. We had a few big victories, a few big defeats, but mostly thousands of little joyous cutting up moments, driving back and forth to games and soccer practice. That was a set of turns that I'll cherish forever. When Megan was in sixth grade, she got tapped at her school to talk and basically do the recruiting talk for all the new families and stuff that were coming in. It was basically the pitch. And they had a faculty member interview Megan before she was going to do the talk, just to make sure they kind of knew what she was going to say. And one of the questions they asked, because they didn't want her to scare other prospective students away, was, "How much homework do you do every night?" And Megan, the faculty member, by the way, was so tickled by the story, she told us the story. Megan, to that answer, the faculty member was expecting something like 30 minutes or an hour or 2 hours or 3 hours. But Megan, in her simplicity and brilliance, when asked, "How much homework do you do every night?" she just simply said, "All of it." That was an awesome turn for us to hear and experience and witness as we saw her get-her-done personality come to fruition. Other turns that were awesome: Megan championed water sports Wednesdays. Their school got off at 1 o'clock on Wednesdays, and she convinced us to she convinced me to cut out of work and whoever else was there to go straight to the lake, go do as many water sports, water skiing and wakeboarding or whatever as we could, and then come back and they get their studying done late night. Those are turns I take anytime. Awesome turns. And one last turn before I get to you, Zach. It's coming, by the way. One last turn was they had a senior awards night at Megan's school. And it's kind of a resume thing where they pump you up and they have all kinds of awards or whatever, and they're well-deserved and earned awards. And we found out that Megan was up for an award. They didn't tell us what it was. But independent of the awards, in the middle of this award ceremony, they get one of the teachers that's like super sharp-witted and is really clever and ruthless with kids, and they get them to do a roast. And that teacher basically just starts disassembling the senior class by completely crucifying and roasting them. And this particular year, Megan's senior year, when they were doing the roast, in the middle of the roast, everyone's laughing, she paused for a second and very sincerely, she said, "You know who's a saint?" people just paused. And then she repeated the question, do you know who's a saint? And then people started mumbling. And she said, Megan Seidel. That turn hit me like a lightning bolt. I was expecting to get a resume moment there, and we got a eulogy moment. And it was awesome. And that was a demonstration of Megan being true to herself, being kind to others, and demonstrating a very consistent character. And people noticed. So, thank you, Megan, for giving me the opportunity to take the turns for you, with you, and watching you. The turn's changing now. I did notice the turn started changing when Megan went to Auburn and Zach Vincent entered the scene. He was this boy that wouldn't go away. We met at a basketball game. I think the first time was like it was maybe an exhibition basketball game. And they come up out of the student section, and Zach Vincent's wearing some obnoxious hat. I'm like, who's this kid wearing obnoxious clothing? So I figured, all right, whatever, we'll hang out with him a little bit afterwards, so we did. And then eventually it got to like midnight. We're like, dude, this kid's not leaving. So we went to bed, and I'm like, all right, well, he's a freshman in college. Lisa's a morning person, so is Megan. We'll just get up early and go hang with Megan. Because no freshman in college is going to get up early on Saturday morning. So we got over to her dorm about 7:30, and guess who was there? Zach Vincent. That kept up the whole weekend, and then we had many more trips where this same behavior was happening. And I found myself thinking, why is this dude always here? How come every time I struggle with opening something, he whips out a different pocket knife with a blade that I like opening for him? And how many different pocket knives does this dude have anyway? Why does he know so much stuff about all this weird, obscure stuff, like water bears or whatever? And how come every time I shake his hand, he stares me down? And why do half his random stories end with him finding $50? On the flip side to these observations, in fairness, we spent a lot of time with Zach, and I noticed that he kept opening the door for Megan. He was always polite and enthusiastic. He kept showing up at church. He was always up for playing games with our family. He was the first to help prep food and do the dishes, and he kept writing us thank you letters. Sometimes he would prep the food, do the dishes, and then write us a thank you letter for that meal. So I honestly don't know if he won me over or wore me down, but eventually Zach completely and totally turned me. And I learned through observation that Zach is incredibly smart. He's hardworking. He's very coachable. He makes very logical decisions. He's very generous, especially with his time, in acts of service. He has a strong moral compass and a deep faith, and he places a very high value on family. And he also somehow has a younger, identical twin brother that's 37. That's his best man, Andrew. By the way, great talk last night. Most importantly, Megan and Zach's core values align extremely well. And I think that's the making of a great marriage for them. All of this culminated in a turn, by the way. About a year and a half ago, we're at my house watching TV. I'm chilling out, checking my brain out. And all of a sudden I hear him say, with a nervous, dry voice, I'm glad we're alone because I need to ask you something. And I was like, oh crap, it's my turn. That was a turn I was not prepared for. But I did give Zach my blessing. And here we are. He would have done this without my blessing, by the way, but here we are. So I'll wrap things up. This is about done. Please continue eating. You know something? I got a few points to wrap up. You know something, Zach and Megan? I do think you guys are 2 medals. Gold medals. That was another office joke. I'll get back to the other stuff. Okay. The Vincent family, to the Vincent family. Thank you for welcoming Megan and the rest of us into your family. We all welcome you into ours. That might not be the turn you want, but you are now stuck with us. Zach, this is to you, Zach Vincent. Welcome to the family. We love you, and we're glad you're in our family. I am officially, Zach, passing the dice to you. Zach, please be good to my daughter. I know you will. And make the most of your turn. You haven't gotten rid of me yet. Megan, I'm glad you're my daughter. You always have and still do make my heart happy. I think you're smart, funny, encouraging, and enthusiastic. Being your dad is one of the greatest joys in my life. And I look forward to my next turns as father of a happily married wife. And I do have my bets. And finally, I'm going to get a glass here. This is the end. I'm doing a toast. I can't hold two things at the same time. So I know everyone's waited with bated breath to get this over with. A toast to the newlyweds, Zach and Megan Vincent. May you remember, and may we all remember, as life is rolling by, to pause for a minute and take all those little turns, because one day we may realize that those little turns are, in fact, the big things in life. To Zach and Megan. Cheers.